This is the Ag Queen Podcast. I'm your host, Lori Boyer. Welcome. This podcast explores the agriculture industry with the movers and shakers of those shaping it. Today, I visit with U.S. Wheat Associates. I am joined by Steve Wersching. He is Vice President and Director of their West Coast office in Portland, Oregon. And we will talk about outreach to the Federal Grain Inspection Service about hard white wheat and hard red winter wheat grade standards today. Steve, can you start us off by giving us some information on what's going on with this topic and issue?
Over 30 years ago, hard white wheat was recognized as an official wheat class by the USDA. That really brought this class forward, and I remember as a young U.S. wheat employee actually putting hard white wheat samples from California in buckets and sending them to overseas markets to promote this class. Hard white wheat, was always seen as a premium wheat class that could really effectively compete with Australian wheats, and certainly now with Russian and Black Sea wheat in some of our traditional U.S. markets in Africa and Southeast Asia. So we're really interested in trying to keep this class going and trying to build on those successes. However, we have this conundrum, if you will, about the chicken and the egg, which one came first. And we've always had the same kind of issue where, what comes first, the supply of the hard white to sell overseas or the market, the demand. Certainly over the years, we've done a lot of programs to build demand and make buyers aware of the great quality hard white wheat that we grow here, and they know about it, and they really do want to buy it. And now I think we really have some supply issues. We're having difficulty building that critical mass. And we see some farmers that want to grow hard white actually being harmed by these characterized illiquid markets, meaning that a lot of country elevators have difficulty handling yet one more class of wheat, so they don't want to, or if they do, they'll discount the hard white at the first point of sale. So U.S. Wheat Associates, at the direction of farmers in Colorado, Kansas, and Idaho, the three top producing states of hard white, we took their direction and looked at maybe ways where we could revise the grain standards to ease the illiquid market and support farmers. So we have U.S. Wheat Associates has board meetings, and our last board meeting was in Nashville this year and at the end of June. At the end of June, and the growers brought forward a motion to change the standards, which was in the Hard White Wheat Committee, which was adopted unanimously, and then in the full board meeting enjoyed broad support for this motion to change the grain standards. To be specific, the first part of that motion sets out to differentiate hard white spring wheats from hard white winter wheats. There in Colorado, Scott Haley, your CSU breeder, fantastic guy, amazing career. He bred some of the best hard white winters, snow mass, really, I think, breaking some yield boundaries as well, with great quality protein functionality. You guys are growing winter wheat. Right now, winters and springs are not differentiated at all in the hard white class, so we are urging Federal Grain Inspection to differentiate between springs and winters. Idaho, on the other hand, not too far away in the southern part of Idaho, they're growing a lot of spring wheats, which essentially do have some different milling characteristics and a slightly different functionality, and usually a little higher protein. The other thing that growers brought forward was to create a hard winter wheat class with subclasses of hard white winter and hard red winter wheat. This would effectively make it possible for the country elevator to receive hard winter wheat and then divide it up with the subclasses of white and red. Hard red winter and hard white winter, Kansas and Colorado have very similar breeding programs and very similar qualities. So we see this as something that will, I think, aid in the marketability and aid growers in giving them a better place to sell the wheat, and they won't be discounted at the elevator. We also allowed and suggested that they could blend higher amounts of hard white wheat into hard red winter. We see hard white as kind of an improver wheat. The white brand allows you to get slightly higher extraction rates and things like that. So blending in a little more hard whites into hard red winter would not really harm anything. In fact, our U.S. domestic milling industry is doing this already. So we see that as a plus. So we're hoping that these revisions can be evaluated and considered by the Federal Grain Inspection Service, and that, I don't know, in 90 days or so, we'll get some sort of response from them to let us know what they think of these proposals, and then we'll have another chance to comment on what actual changes they might propose to the grain grading system. And again, this is all to improve the marketability of hard white as well as to improve, I think, the situation for producers of this class of wheat in Colorado and Kansas and Idaho in particular.
Does that make changes at the elevator if you start mixing and doing some of these differences? Will there be a cost for them?
Well, before, the elevator had to kind of keep these hard white and hard red winter separated, always separated. And so they essentially saw some additional costs in handling another class of wheat. Here, they'll have the option to separate them and market them separately if they wish, or essentially they can blend these two together and not be penalized by the market. So that's what we're hoping for.
Okay. All right. I don't have a lot of time to ask you many more questions. Steve, what else is important to know about this?
Well, part of it is U.S. Wheat Associates represents farmers' interests in the overseas market, and so these concerns were brought forward by the farmers themselves in hopes of improving their situation. And so U.S. Wheat is just facilitating this process. So we believe that farmers know what is best for them and can make changes that will help them.
Steve Wersching, Vice President and Director of the West Coast Office in Portland, Oregon for U.S. Wheat Associates, my guest here today on the Ag Queen Podcast. I'm Lori Boyer.